The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, welcome to my show, Learning to Dance in the Rain. This is Shelby Wagner. I'm host, and I'm very excited to have a guest today, which I'll introduce in a few minutes. I want to say that my broadcast show is named after my book called Learning to Dance in the Rain, and I hope that you will be inspired after the show to order it from Amazon.com, and I offer strategies to help you cope with life struggles. And that's what our broadcast is about, is learning to deal with life struggles. My second book was Scams, and she had a picture of that up there just a moment ago. All right. My first book, The Learning to Dance in the Rain, was a second place winner in the Living Now Book Awards contest in 2021. That was the second place in relationships and marriage. And it offers helps to those who are grieving and offers hope for the future and helping them to figure out what it is they might want to do once they get through grieving for the loved one they lost. And it's for men and women. Also, I've learned lately that teenagers are targeted heavily by scammers. And, I think the teenagers would get a lot out of my book too. Learning to Dance in the Rain is in the third printing. So be sure you order the third edition and not the first two. They're very similar, but not exactly the same. All right. Today, I am very happy to introduce to you a new friend of mine. Her name is Karina, and she lives in Northern California. I'm a little envious. I'm here in Michigan. We had a really few very cold days a week ago, but the last few days have been around 50s, in the 50s. So it's nice here, but I think I would like to visit California sometime. Anyway, Karina lives in Northern California. She works in the life sciences industry and holds a doctorate in chemistry from the Eastern Coast. And I'm very happy today. She's going to be talking about her virtual romance. And then she subtitled it A Tale of Love, which we're going to hear about today, and Deceit, oh my goodness, and financial ruin. And so it's a first of three-part series. So I hope you'll be with us for the whole 3 parts. Karina, would you step into the studio now? How are you?
Hi, Shelby. Thank you for the kind introduction.
You're very welcome. And I'm very happy to meet you on here and have you as a guest on my show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you get involved in a virtual romance? I did too, by the way, but go ahead.
Yes. I think like most Americans looking for love and a connection, a relationship, tend to go on the virtual platforms like dating websites. I, in particular, had gone to Bumble. So this was last summer in May of 2023, at the beginning of the summer. I decided to look for a relationship online. And I met somebody within the first week, a very handsome man about my age who had also never been married or had children. So we already had that in common. But when he reached out, or basically I swiped right and he was a match, we quickly started chatting and creating kind of a good rapport for the first few days on Bumble. He was very kind and charming. He also asked if I wanted to transfer our conversation to WhatsApp, which is another app for communicating outside of the dating website, just to get to know each other better and just kind of move away from the dating website and start communicating potentially as partners outside of that. So that's where I started, was in Bumble, moved to WhatsApp with him and continue the conversation. Um, it- we quickly kind of bonded, I guess you could say, because he was very interested in getting to know me quickly. And when we were chatting on WhatsApp, probably the second or third evening we were chatting, he asked if I was willing to get rid of the Bumble application and just focus on each other. At first, I thought, oh, is this kind of a controlling thing, or just curious if I should be wary? But I decided, you know what? That's kind of what I wanted to do too. I don't like shopping around for somebody to date. It was nice that he initially just wanted to focus on me. And that's what he said. He said, I just want to focus on you, on one person at a time. I can't date multiple people at the same time. So if you agree, we could both basically remove the app from our phones. And so we did. We agreed to do that together and shared snapshots on our phone of getting rid of the app. So it looked like it was a new downloadable feature for us. um, so basically, we continued to chat. I found myself getting kind of addicted to his attention quite early. I would say after a week or two. I was already just after work looking forward to coming home and chatting with him. And I found myself at times chatting for almost 3 to 4 hours in my living room after work, just corresponding with this person. He was very forthright in some of his background and some previous struggles that he had gone through, which I kind of found eye opening. And I thought, wow, this is great. Like, he is very open about his past relationship that failed. And then he wanted to know more about me and any struggles that I had had, that kind of led me to become the person I was today, in his words. And so I actually, because he had shared so much intimate detail about his past, I felt really safe opening up with him. I was a little bit curious at the fact that we hadn't spoken on the phone and we were just chatting via text. And I asked him about it. And he did say he was originally from the Netherlands, but he lived in the Bay Area, so the same area that I was living in, the peninsula at the time. And he lived in Pacific Heights in San Francisco, which is a very well-to-do area. He talked about owning a house there, but he had been in the States for about 6 years. So I questioned whether he was nervous talking to me because of his accent or if he had a language barrier. And he said that was part of it, but he thought that we could deepen our connection through texting and getting to really know each other better before having a conversation on the phone. And I accepted it at the time because I'm naturally an introvert anyway. And so I found it easy also. And throughout the day, we could continue to communicate with each other, like still really getting to know each other and forming that bond by him checking in with good morning texts. They became daily after the first week, checking in throughout the day, how my day was at lunchtime, what was I eating, curious just about my habits. And when I would come home from work, obviously, like I mentioned before, texting for hours. And I started to notice, like I mentioned before, about probably a week and a half in, that I was getting a little bit addicted to his attention. I was kind of nervous, like, oh gosh, like I really like this person. He's really engaging and he seems genuinely interested in my life and who I am. And he quickly became integrated in the sense that, like, I started to almost depend on that communication and look forward to it in a way that was, I don't know if you want to call it unhealthy, but at the time I didn't feel like it was unhealthy. I felt like euphoria, to be honest, that I really hadn't yet felt previously in dating relationships. So I think because of his excessive interest in me, I just grew more and more attached to him, we basically talked about things that I normally wouldn't share with somebody that I hadn't yet spoke to or met in person. But I don't know, he just got me to open up about things because of him sharing his life. So um, I I think one of the things that was kind of interesting was just learning about his career. He said he was in finance, and he actually asked me probably pretty early on if I knew anything about crypto because he had made some of his money in the past using crypto financing. And I just told him I didn't really understand it. It made no sense to me. Not that I wasn't willing to learn, and I even told him so, but I just kind of was like not really interested in it. And he left it alone. He was like, okay, that's just a way to make money, and how he had made money for himself and his sister to start her business in the past. And um, I normally didn't talk about my finances with people, but he got me to kind of, I guess, divulge what my situation was. I wasn't a homeowner, I was renting, and I told him about my student loan debt. He had brought up the crypto investing as a way to potentially quickly help me pay off my student loans. I'm on a plan for probably the next 5 to 6 years of being able to pay it off, with the minimum payment balances. But at any rate, he was very open about how wealthy he was, and I started to get a little bit nervous because I had never met somebody so wealthy in my life before, and I didn't know if it would be a good match because he obviously swam in different social circles than I did, and I told him so. And I even questioned at times, like, where did you come from? Like, why are you interested in me? Because he was very handsome. He was so interested in my life and who I was and getting to know me and paying a lot of attention to me, and even started calling me honey after a week. And then at 2 weeks, basically told me that he loved me. And I was like, impossible. How can you love somebody you've never met? And he said he could tell I was such an honest, good, understanding person, and I had a good heart. He's been looking for somebody like that, and that it would be very easy for him to just date somebody that was interested in him just because of his money. But I was just a normal, decent person, and all he wanted was a normal, simple life. But that he wanted to retire early, and he didn't want me to have to work so hard, and that he could help me achieve those dreams by helping me pay off my student loan debt with this potential crypto financing. And I asked him, I was like, why do you want to help me so badly? And that's when he told me at 2 weeks that he loved me. And I didn't say it back because I don't know, I was just not really sure what to make of it because I felt like it was so quick. But after a couple of days of chatting even more, deepening our connection even further. I was telling him that I felt, addicted to his attention, and that I would get nervous when I wouldn't hear from him for a couple hours because I didn't know who he was spending his time with. Is he really only focusing on me, or are there other people that he's messaging? But then I just started to feel more and more confident in his feelings for me because he was spending so much time and attention on me. Like, I just thought it was impossible for him to be texting or paying that kind of attention to somebody else or developing this kind of relationship with somebody else with the number of hours that he was spending on me.
Right. Right.
So so basically I feel like I started to get this crazy, almost high, like euphoria I mentioned before. Just, obviously looking forward to every communication. I was struggling at work with my manager and some colleagues at the time, and all of that seemed to disappear. I just felt like now that I had this person that I was potentially going to meet in a few weeks, and a new relationship, and I just felt kind of on top of the world. Like, I didn't have to worry about all the things that I was worrying about before. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just felt almost a high that probably people get from doing drugs. Like, I was just felt like I could walk on water, and I didn't have a care in the world, and everything was just so great and amazing. I don't even know how to describe it, really. It's just I'm sure people have felt that before. It's the initial stages of like falling in love, I guess, with somebody. So that was definitely something that I wanted to keep and I didn't want to let go of. And so basically, as our relationship evolved, I would say we're texting now for 6 weeks, and I'm still starting to question, like, when are we going to meet? And he was really nice about it, and actually quite romantic. I kind of left it alone after he told me one of the reasons why he wanted to wait until our first date before we spoke and met each other in person. You know, he had been saving all of our chats, our text messages to each other, and really just wanted to put it into a book. And he had related it to his parents who were in the military, and they used to write love letters to each other when they were apart. And he kind of viewed this book of our chats in the beginning as our love letters, a book that he was going to have printed out or made for me and share with us on our first date. And also, he wanted to make sure that he got to know me so well and the things that I like that he could plan the perfect first date for us. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'll wait. I'll be more patient. I understand. Like this. Wow. So again, we're like probably about 6 weeks in, and he had asked me again about crypto investing and if I just wanted to try it because he really saw that this could bring some value to my life and to our future together. And he knew I was the kind of person that I wasn't going to let him just pay off my student loans for me, that if I could learn how to do it myself, that I would eventually probably want to use crypto going forward. So he basically let me practice with $1,000 and kind of walked me through the steps. And so I wire transferred 1,000 from my bank to it was crypto.com at the time, and then he showed me how to convert it from USD to USDT. He told me that the ratio between the two, the coin and the Ethereum and the USD dollar, were compatible and linked. Basically, it's a very stable coin. The value of it is like basically equal to the US dollar. So converted it to USDT, and then he sent me a link to Kraken Futures. Instead of using the app on the phone, he encouraged me to use this link. And he said, open this link and copy the wallet address that's in this link. And then you can deposit it into this other platform. And I was wondering, like, wow, why are we going to trade in this other platform? He said, oh, because you can't trade in crypto.com. You have to trade in this other platform. And so that's what I did. I just followed his steps. You know, he's in finance, he knows what he's doing. And I dropped the USDT with some fees that were taken out by crypto into this Kraken Futures platform, the website. Just initiated an account. It was super easy. All I needed was, I think, my phone number. I didn't even need an email or anything. And then he said, okay, let's, keep your money in here and let's see if we can trade. I'll tell you when there's another trading node, and then we can, trade and you'll get some profits. And so I think it was the next night or the night after, we traded in this Kraken Futures website, and he basically guided me through the whole thing. Like, you choose this 30-second interval. There's like 30, 60, 90 second. You choose based off of how much money or profit you're hoping to make. There's a little bit of risk involved, but he kept telling me, rest assured, like, I will never put you in a situation where you're going to lose money. Like, he probably told me this numerous times because he knew how nervous I was. Like, I didn't have a lot of money. $1,000 was a lot for me at the time. And so, but then I was like, okay, at least, if I lose some of this, it's not too devastating. It's $1,000. So again, he just assured me, he's like, I'm never going to have you do a trading node where you're not going to make a profit, and you will not lose a single dollar with me. He's like, this is what I do for my clients. This is what I do for a living. Do not worry. So I did. I trusted him, and sure enough, we made I think $195 profit on the amount that I had put in. it was successful. And then he even showed me how to pull the money back out if I wanted to cash it out. So he showed me how to move it from this Kraken platform, withdraw the profits to crypto.com, where it was sitting. And then I could, if I wanted, I just kept it in crypto, but as USDT. But he said if I wanted, I could then convert it to USD and then wire transfer it to my bank. So, and I knew how to do that part. So it was pretty straightforward. So anyway, I thought this was great. Wow. We made a profit together. He guided me through the whole thing. It was super easy. And I was like, wow, I can't believe like people don't know about this. Like, this is amazing. Like, how come everyone isn't like trading crypto for money? And that's what he kept telling me too. He's like, yeah, you know, can you imagine if you put $20,000 in there, what kind of profits you would make? And I'm like, $20,000? Like, I don't have $20,000 just lying around. What do you think I am?
Right.
And he's like encouraging me, you know, like, but if you made this much on 1,000 and that was just one trading node, can you imagine if you put 20,000 in and you participated in 1 to 2 trading nodes per week? After like a month, you'd probably make enough to pay off your student loans. So I hemmed and hawed about it for a little while, and I don't know, I just kind of left it at 1,000. And then a week later, he got me to invest 5,000. I took from some paychecks that I put aside just to see that, yes, this is working. Like, every time he had me put money in there, we were making profits together, and trading nodes were pretty frequent. They were at least maybe 1 to 2 every week. And so he's like, you know, if you don't have liquidity, have you thought about like using your retirement loan? Because if you have retirement, you could pay it back with the profits. Well, you'll pay it back when you withdraw from the platform, and you'll have the profits on top of that. And I just thought it was kind of counterintuitive to me. Like, wait, I borrow money to make money? Like, how does that work? Like, I'm already in debt. Like, I just feel like this is weird to be going more into debt to try to pay off all my debt. But he assured me, he's like, this is what rich people do. This is how rich people get rich. Like, they basically have to borrow money. Like, you know, this is how people who don't have generational wealth do it, basically.
Other people's money.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, you'll be laughing at the banks like after this whole thing. Like, your retirement's not going to give you nearly as much money.
Very familiar to me because my story is very similar to yours. Yes.
I think this is obviously a very familiar trend because, and I know we're going to get into it probably more in the next couple of episodes, but it's basically called the pig butchering scam. So basically what I did was I took out $30,000 for my retirement and I invested it into this platform. So now I had $36,000 invested. And everything was going great in our relationship. I was happy to have that money in there because we kept making money on top of it. And then I was wondering, like, I guess I'll just keep it in there until I reach the amount of student loan debt that I have and then pull it out. So $67,000 was the student loan debt that I had. But then he actually curiously asked me, it was a Friday evening. He's like, hey, why don't you ask the security officer for bonus coins? I'm like, what's that? He's like, you know, go to the support chat and ask them about this event or this bonus coins that you can get once you already have a certain what they call recharge value. So the number of USDT that you have in the platform that's actual money, not the profits on top of the money, but the money itself. That you can get some coins from the security officer. He's like, I did it when I first started. So I was like, okay, whatever. I just followed what he told me to do. I went to the support chat and the support chat told me to contact this phone number on WhatsApp. So I went to another phone number on WhatsApp and started communicating with the security officer there, or they called it the welfare officer, and asked for the bonus coins. And they said, oh, you have 35,000 in your account. You can get 6,000 coins or something like that. Or maybe it was less than that. I can't remember. So they immediately deposited that amount of coins on top of my recharge value and the profits that I already had in there. And he's like, how did it go? How did it work? And I'm like, yeah, oh my God, amazing. Like, why did they do that? He's like, well, why don't you register for this event? They have these options like 100,000, 150, 200, 500, 800, etc. You choose an amount, and then through the month of July, because we were like July 7th or 8th, by the end of July, July 31st, if you can put in the amount that you register for, then you will get the bonus coins that are listed on this sheet, which showed like if I put in 150,000, I would get 70,000 coins total. And as I got closer to the 150, they would deposit the coins in on top of that. And so I registered for the 150,000 event, not knowing that I was gonna. I didn't realize that I was supposed to put in extra money. I thought it was at the time it was going to be the profits on top of the money I had put in there. But then quickly realized after I registered for the event for 150 to get the 70,000 coins by the end of July that I had basically screwed myself because I don't have another 115,000 to put in there. And I was like, oh my God, how could you, I was like, I was so upset with him. Like, how could you do this to me? Like, you know what my situation is. I thought you loved me. Like, why are you having me register for this event that I can't even, like, I have so much anxiety right now. I can't do this. Like, I'm going to lose the 30,000 because when I reached out to the support chat, they told me if I didn't finish this event, that they would freeze my account and I couldn't withdraw anything from it. So I was freaking out, and he's like, don't worry, I'll help you. I'll help you reach 150. Like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to help me with 115,000 because I don't have anything. And he's like, I can't help you with 115. Like, you need to take action too. And he's like, ask your mom or, take out another loan if you can, but like, I can't help you with the whole entire amount. And we were probably chatting up to like 3 or 4 in the morning. And the one thing that I noticed with this whole thing when I was full of anxiety and riddled with stress, what kind of stress I never really felt before, because I was like, oh my God, I just lost $35,000 if I don't finish this event. And how the heck am I going to come up with anything on top of that? He was with me the whole time, chatting with me till like 4 in the morning, just calming me down, telling me he's going to help me. And like, let's focus. Let's not have this negative attitude. Like, I need you to act. I will be acting in the background as well. What are you so worried about, that this event doesn't work and that you're not going to get your coins? And I was like, I'm worried I can't finish the event. And he's like, yeah, I understand. Don't worry. Again, I'm going to help you. So I was under the impression if I could come up with like a little bit of something that he would help with the rest to finish the event. So the next morning I immediately called a bank I had worked with previously, and I took out a $38,000 loan. It was like 26% interest rate. I told him, I was like, this interest rate is insane. Like, I have to pay this back in the next month. And he's like, don't worry. Like, when we finish the event, July 31st, you'll be able to withdraw all your funds and you'll be debt free and you'll pay everybody back and you'll have all the profits on top of it to pay off your student loans. You'll be fine. So he was coaching me all along that everything was going to be fine. Everything was going to be great. And I trusted him because everything he said would come true. Like the trading, we made profits. He was always there with me, like he said he would. He's like, I'm here for you. I'm always going to be here for you. Do not worry. I was like, I hadn't met him yet, but he was going down to LA to visit his uncle to meet a new client for his business. And so he's like, when I get back from meeting with my uncle in a couple of weeks, we're going to meet in person. Like, I'm going to take you away for the weekend. Like, this will all be like, it's going to just feel like a bad dream right now, but we're going to be fine. You're going to be debt free and we can start our life together. So I just trusted that, okay, when he gets back in a few weeks, this event will be over, we'll be together, and everything will be fine.
Right.
So after I put in that amount of money, I was obviously even more scared and nervous than ever and hoping that he was going to help me. And so then when we traded another evening, he said, oh, whatever, I can't even remember how much we had made at that point. I was probably close to like 175,000 with the profits on top of my recharge, which was around 70 or 80. But I was able to collect coins because I was getting up to the criteria for the the event completion. So at each, like when you got to 70,000 coins, you could get another 10,000 bonus coins or things like that. So I was getting closer to finishing the event. But then once I put in that loan, the 38,000, I asked him, okay, so can you help me with the rest now? Obviously he trusted and he believed that I was going to pay him back. But then he's like, honey, I can't help you with the whole thing. I can help you get to 100 or 80K or 100K, but I can't help you get all the way to 150. And I'm like, what? Oh my God, unbelievable. How could you, like, he's like, remember, I registered for this event too, and I still have to come up with recharge from my account so that I can complete this thing too. And that's when I started to question, like, who is this person? Like, he said, like, does he even have all the liquidity that he said? Like, he's been showing me like all this wealth that he has, like playing tennis and golf with all his clients and like these Rolex watches and all these things. And I just started to like get disgusted with him. Like, why does he have this extravagant life? And he gets me into this position where I have to like come up with all this money to help myself. And I never would have done this if I hadn't have met him. So like, why isn't he helping me more? Or why isn't he trying to figure out a way? And so he said, since he said he couldn't help me, he's like, I need to be creative. I need to figure this out. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, what am I going to, and I was like, last resort, I guess I'm just going to, I'm going to have to ask my mom or somebody. I can't take out another loan. I'd actually lost my job that same week. And so because I know everything was happening at once. By the way, I know I'm talking a lot. If you want to interject.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll get my turn. Don't worry.
Okay. So
I'm getting chills, really.
okay.
Sounds so familiar.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully other victims can probably hear this story too and relate.
Really?
But I basically asked my mom for $26,000 because I asked him, how much are you going to be able to help me with? And he said 46. And so I knew that's what I had to come up with. And he's like, look, like, borrow from your friends, your family, and tell them, like, once you cash out your investments, you're going to be able to buy them a really great gift and you're going to be able to pay them back in a month. Like, don't worry, you're not going to have to make any payments on your loans. You're going to be able to pay off the whole balance in full. And I don't know. I just was like, oh, I started to not believe him. And I even told him, I was like, you're not going to help me, are you? You're not going to help me finish this event. Like, there's been all these surprises. And so the next day he immediately deposited 46,000 into my account to prove to me, he's like, I don't like hearing that you're anxious. And because I told him, I was like, I go to lunch at work and I just sit in my car and I like cry and stress and like I don't know what's going to happen. Like, am I going to lose all this money? They're going to freeze my account because I can't finish it. And so he's like, let me relieve that stress for you. And he's like, I don't like you being anxious like that. So he put in the 46,000 and I was like, oh my God, okay, he is a man of his word. He said he followed through with what he said he was going to do. And I completely just forgave him for not being able to help me with the whole amount at that point, because I was like, okay, at least he's helping me with something. In a pretty significant amount. And so, so then when my mom let me borrow the remaining amount, I put it in the platform and I reached 150K and we finished it like a week before July 31st, the deadline. And I was so relieved and thrilled. And I was like, finally, this thing is over. And he's like, all right, let's try to withdraw it. So then I tried to withdraw it and, I basically couldn't. They told me that I had to do a security verification of $27,000. And I start freaking out. And he's like, oh, I remember, the first time I had to the first time I did a big withdrawal from Kraken, I had to also do the security verification. This is normal. This is what you have to do. He's like, don't worry, I can help you again. And I'm like, oh my God, but I just knew he wasn't going to help me with the whole thing because he wasn't able to in the past. So what am I going to have to come up with? And he told me he could do 9K and I could do 18K and that would help. And so again, I go asking the friends that I had asked the first time around if they can help me. And I didn't divulge to my friends and family what I was using it for. I told them it was to help pay off my retirement loan because I'd just been terminated from my job. They shut down the whole site. 60 of us got laid off. we had severance at least, but that was the excuse I used to borrow money from my friends and family. And to this day, that's probably one of the things that really bothers me the most about this whole thing. It's one thing to take out debt in your own name, but it's another to borrow from other people.
So you didn't tell them that you were investing in this crypto?
No, I didn't. And he actually encouraged me to, I was like, what do I tell them? And he's like, people who aren't in finance aren't going to understand this. Like,
Right.
they don't understand crypto. So he's like, I don't know what you're going to tell them, but whatever you have to do, just to finish this thing. We got to fix this. He's like, it's ruining our relationship. I would just want to focus on us again. And we just got to end this thing. Like, just get it done, and then we can withdraw everything. So
did you always
that's what I
hear
did.
money, financial issues with family and friends is not a good idea?
I have heard that. No, I have.
Because
and I knew that going in. And
right, me too.
Honest, I never
warned me. They go, Mom, you're being scammed. Mom, you're being scammed. And I didn't believe them. I needed that money to pay off my loans. And I was hoping I knew more about it than they did. But
right. That's exactly the mindset. You're right. That's what it is. Yeah. And it also got to the point in our relationship where I would start questioning him on things, and he would quickly kind of manipulatively turn it around on me, where, like, for example, he said he was going to a steakhouse one night with a client, and he told me it was called The Cut. It's like some high-end steakhouse in Beverly Hills. And I Googled it, and I saw that it was closed. It was a Sunday. They're closed like Sunday and Monday or something. And I questioned him on it, and I was like, oh, you said you went here, but it's closed. And he was like, oh, they it was a private party, so they opened the restaurant for us. He always had a good answer. And then he was like, I can't believe you're questioning me. He's like, I'm thinking about our future, and I'm trying to move us forward, and you're going in the completely opposite direction. And he convinced me, oh my God, he's right. Like, why am I thinking so negatively? Why am I questioning him and the process and everything? Like, and he's out there working his butt off to try to help us and help us have a future, so we could retire early or something. And so there are just these weird moments where I was like, okay, don't question him. Like, just little pieces of that kind of treatment that made me feel like, okay. And I also felt dependent on him at this point, because I needed him to help me with the security verification. I needed him to help me financially at this point. So I felt like I couldn't ruffle any feathers or like do anything that would upset him. And that really upset him when I questioned him about that particular thing. He like mentioned it again the next night. He's like, usually, I cut people out if they can't, if they act like this, and I don't like having people like that in my life. He's like, but I love you, and I know you have good intentions and a good heart, and so I'm not, gonna just, stop, being with you, but just so you know, like, this isn't the kind of behavior that whatever. And I accepted that. I was like, oh. But then part of me was like, what kind of sociopath would just cut somebody out if they didn't like behave the way that they wanted? And I don't know. And it's like one time. Anyway, so I started questioning too more of his morals and who he was as a person, and if I really wanted to be with somebody like this. And so I even started thinking, like, I don't even want to be a person anymore. I just want to finish this event. I just want to be done with it. I just want to get the security verification done, like finish this thing and be done with it, and never maybe even have to talk to this person again. I'm definitely not investing in crypto ever again. Yeah, exactly. And I think, obviously the reason I kept putting money in there and borrowing from people is because of that whole, like, sunk cost fallacy form of manipulation where, I had already put in, like, in the very beginning, that $30,000 for my retirement. And so I had to believe this thing was real. I had to believe that he was not deceiving me and that this whole thing was legitimate, because if I didn't, then I was already going to lose a significant amount of money. And that is why I made the decisions to continue. And so once we finished the security verification, I I couldn't pull it out because the support chat told both Evan and I, that was his name, by the way, that we had both violated our platforms and they froze both of our accounts because he put money into my account and I put money into my account. They had to come from the same exchange. It couldn't come from two separate accounts.
Mhm.
And that's when things started to turn for the worse. Because he had put in 55,000. So he's like, oh my God, I'm a little bit of a mess right now. Like my account is frozen. I can't believe this. Like he turned into a completely different person. Like normally he was the one like coaching me and like the strong
Mhm.
one and like this is how it's gonna work and you need to stop stressing. We'll figure out a solution,
Right.
to being like the weak person that didn't have any liquidity, couldn't help himself and obviously couldn't help me. And then kind of like was like, I helped you. Can you help me in this situation? And like it got really distasteful to me, the whole relationship with him, and him also pointing out that I was stressing and concerned more about my situation than caring about him and his situation. And I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you're gonna miss a couple trading nodes. That's what you're stressed about. I'm gonna lose like $150,000. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? How does this even
Mhm.
comparable? Because you have this extravagant life. You could sell one of your houses or your Porsche or whatever. And
Mhm.
so and then he confides in me that um, after I come up with another 25,000, I know it hurts to even say it again. I did borrow to get another 25,000 and we had agreed I would put 25 in and he would put the remaining 30 in. And then he writes to me after I put my 25 in, oh, my uncle, I don't think he can help me. And I contacted my friends in the Netherlands and my neighbor. I mean, he had a pretty legitimate story. Like my neighbor, his wife won't let me borrow money because she doesn't understand crypto, but he's had his account frozen before, so he understands how this works. Maybe he'll let me borrow 10 or 15. And I'm just like, unbelievable. And I'm exhausted at this point. I'm like, I'm depleted. I can't do anything else. And I had to like put the phone away. And obviously I'm trying to call him too, and he never picks up. He doesn't want to talk to me or anybody because he's stressed out. And then he confides in me that he put his clients' money into the platform
Oh
and
no, nothing
that
like
he's going to go to
that
jail.
anymore.
Yeah, right.
More there to your grave. I felt like
Yeah.
it. Right, right. Um, so I heard you say several things in the beginning there about how interested he was in you, how he was encouraging you, and everything that you did, and it made you feel so good, right? And this is exactly what scammers do. They're just masters at manipulation and finding out where your weak spot is too. And in your case, it was your student loan. In my case, I
Mhm.
was in some debt because of my first book. And I was just hoping so much that this was really going to solve my problem. And it just made it worse. So I really feel what you're feeling there. Also, these are signs that of the person right in the beginning, that they're very enthused about you, very encouraging, but then they want to concentrate only on you. So they want you to stop going on the dating site, right? Not stop meeting other people. They want you not to tell anybody about them, whatever. Then right away they want to take you to WhatsApp or some other place to talk instead of on the dating app. But I say stay on the dating app until you meet them practically. It's
Yeah.
really good advice, meeting them in person. And I read somewhere where if you don't meet them in person within 2 weeks, forget it. You're not going to. Is that
Yeah.
good advice, do you think, too? I
No,
can't really
100%.
I live in the country, so to me, that was not really anybody that I met was going to be within an hour away from me. So, or 2 hours or even more. So I stretched it a little bit, but I kept that in mind. 2 weeks, Shelby. And most of the guys that I did meet were within the first couple of weeks, the real guys, but so
that was the thing too, is just to add to that, the love bombing phase in the beginning that you talk about, just how intense it is, and how it does activate the same neural pathways in your brain that an addiction would. And so I think I had to have been responding in a way that was favorable for them to know, or for him to know, that I was going to be a good, I guess, victim, you could call it, in this case.
Yeah, well, whenever I said no to anybody about loaning them money or giving them money or whatever, right away it was, well, you're not really a Christian, because they knew that I was a Christian. I was church organist, every Sunday. And, well, you're not really a Christian if you don't help the poor. And I thought, well, you're not a Christian either if you try and steal money from me.
Yeah.
Really.
But I thought there were many times throughout where I did think, like, is this a scam? Like, is he? And I was like, no, he doesn't have any access to my account. Like, it's my money I'm putting into my account. He doesn't have my password to get into it. There's no way, he's like controlling it or has access to it. And so, and I couldn't imagine for a second that he was pulling one on me because of the amount of time and attention he was spending with me.
Okay, well, we're almost out of time, and I want to thank you. This was part 1 of Love, Deceit, and Financial Ruin. So are we going to find out about the deceit next week? I thought I was going to introduce you by saying, what do these 3 people have in common? A woman living in Northern California, a man, a 26-year-old man in Southeast Asia, and a 48-year-old Texan gay man. What do they have in common? Are we going to learn about that next time, baby?
I think we will. We will.
I wrote down, they know nothing about each other, but yet are intimately intertwined in a horrific transnational crime involving sophisticated psychological manipulation that rapes its innocent victims financially and emotionally. I thought, wow, that really gets to the heart of it. And to my listeners, please come back next week and join in the conversation as we continue to find out more information about this horrible crime called pig butchering. I thought, pig butchering, stealing money that we really don't have, that we borrow to help them in their addiction or whatever it is that they think they're going through. So rush out and buy my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, Surviving Grief, Internet Dating, and Romance Scams. This was now crypto scams on top of that. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I think I got 2 more minutes, but and my book of scams will help you to learn about 150 different scams that are out there. These are tricks that people use to get your money away from you. And my book Scams is there. It's your ultimate guide to preventing becoming a victim and losing your money and your heart and a lot more. So thank you very much. See you next week.